In a beautiful mansion that stood proudly at the top of the hill lived a rich man named Chief James and his two daughters, Precious and Sarah. The mansion was big and shiny, with golden gates, white marble floors, and a garden filled with colorful flowers that danced when the wind blew. The girls had everything any child could dream of: beautiful dresses, toys, and servants who answered their every call. But inside that house of laughter and light, a quiet darkness began to grow. Precious, the first daughter, was like morning sunshine. She was calm, kind, and gentle. She smiled at everyone, greeted the servants, and helped her father even when she didn't have to. Everyone loved her, her teachers, the maids, even strangers who saw her once never forgot her warmth. Her beauty wasn't only in her face, it was in her heart. Sarah, the younger sister, was also beautiful, so beautiful that people often said she looked like a doll. But her beauty stopped at her face. Behind her smile lived a storm. Every time someone praised Precious, Sarah's heart would twist in silent anger. She wanted all the love, all the attention, all the praise. To her, Precious was stealing the spotlight that should have been hers. "Why does everyone always talk about Precious?" she would whisper to herself in the mirror. "Am I invisible?" It started small, rolling her eyes when Precious spoke, mocking her kind gestures, or refusing to join when Precious was being praised. But slowly, those small feelings grew into something darker. She began to see Precious as an enemy, not a sister. One bright Saturday, Chief James called both girls into the living room. He sat in his royal chair, wearing his white agbada, his gold wristwatch shining in the light. "My daughters," he said warmly, "I am proud of both of you. You are my treasures." Precious smiled softly. Sarah smiled too, but her heart wasn't smiling. Chief continued, "Precious, you did very well in your school exams. I am taking you to Dubai next month as a reward." Sarah's smile broke. Her heart started beating faster. "What about me, Daddy?" she asked quickly. Chief James looked at her with kind eyes. "Sarah, your results were good too, but you must study harder next term. Then, I will reward you as well." Sarah forced a nod, but tears burned her eyes. She kept her head down and clenched her fist. She didn't hear the rest of what her father said. All she could hear was her jealousy whispering in her mind, "He loves Precious more than you." That night, Sarah couldn't sleep. She tossed and turned on her pink bed, her heart filled with anger. "She thinks she's better than me," Sarah mumbled. "Everyone does." The next morning, Precious walked into Sarah's room with a plate of pancakes. "Good morning, sister. I brought breakfast for you," Precious said cheerfully. But Sarah barely looked at her. "I'm not hungry." Precious blinked, surprised. "Oh, okay. Are you feeling sick?" "No, I'm fine. Just leave me alone." Precious sighed quietly and left the tray on her table. As soon as she left, Sarah threw the pancake plate into the bin. From that day, Sarah began avoiding Precious. When Precious talked, Sarah walked away. When Precious smiled, Sarah frowned. When Precious sang, Sarah covered her ears. But jealousy is like smoke, it fills every corner if you don't stop it. Soon, even the servants began to notice. One afternoon, Mama Esther, the head maid, called Sarah gently. "My dear, what's wrong with you? You don't play with your sister anymore." Sarah frowned. "Why do you care? Everyone likes Precious better." Mama Esther sighed and said softly, "My child, love is not a competition. Jealousy will only hurt you, not her." Sarah looked away. "You're all the same," she said coldly and walked off. That evening, Precious sat by the piano, playing softly. Her voice filled the house like sunshine. Sarah stood behind the wall, watching. Her fist tightened. She wanted to walk in there and shout, "Stop acting perfect," but she didn't. She just watched, her heart burning silently. 1 week later, a visitor came, a young man named Daniel, the son of Chief James's friend. He was handsome and polite. When he came into the living room, he greeted everyone with a smile. But when he saw Precious, he stopped for a moment. His eyes lit up. Sarah noticed. Her heart began to twist again. That evening, at dinner, Daniel spoke mostly to Precious. They laughed together, sharing jokes, while Sarah sat in silence, stabbing her food with her fork. Even Chief James noticed. "Sarah, are you all right?" "I'm fine, Daddy," she said quickly, forcing a smile. But inside, something was boiling. When Daniel left that night, Sarah stood by the window watching his car drive away. Her thoughts were dark and loud. Even Daniel likes her. Of course. Everyone likes Precious. Nobody ever looks at me first. That night, Sarah cried silently into her pillow. But her tears did not wash away the jealousy, they fed it. Days passed, and Sarah grew quieter, colder. Precious noticed. She tried to make peace. "Sarah," she said one evening, "you've been so quiet lately. Did I do something wrong?" Sarah shook her head. "No." "Then why don't you talk to me anymore?" Precious asked softly. "Because you're perfect, Precious." Sarah snapped suddenly. "Everyone loves you. Father, the servants, even Daniel. Do you know what it feels like to always be the second one?" Precious's eyes filled with tears. "Sarah, I never tried to take anything from you. You're my sister. I love you." Sarah looked away. "Keep your love." Then she stormed out of the room. From that moment, something broke between them. But jealousy never sleeps. It whispers at night, louder and louder until it controls the heart. And one night, it did. It was a quiet, windy night. The moonlight spilled through the large windows of the mansion. Everyone was asleep, except Sarah. She stood by her window, staring at the grand staircase that glowed under the chandelier. Her mind was heavy with dark thoughts. "Just one small thing," she whispered. "One small thing to make her fall. Then everyone will see she's not perfect." She didn't know what she truly wanted: attention, revenge, or peace. All she knew was that she was tired of feeling invisible. And that night, the sweet, smiling Sarah began to disappear. A shadow took her place. As she walked down the staircase slowly, the cold tiles chilled her bare feet. She looked up at the family portraits, her father smiling proudly, Precious's gentle eyes, and her own forced grin. "I'll make them see me," she whispered to herself. "They'll all see me." That was the night jealousy planted its deadlier seed. And soon, it would grow into something no one in that mansion would ever forget. The night was quiet, like a secret holding its breath. The big mansion slept. The garden lights were soft and yellow. The wind moved the curtains like slow waves. In the long hallway, the grandfather clock ticked, tick-tock, tick-tock, like footsteps no one could see. Sarah did not sleep. She sat on her bed with her knees pulled to her chest. Her room was beautiful: gold curtains, a soft rug, a dressing table with little bottles of sweet perfume. But none of those things felt sweet tonight. Her heart was bitter. She kept hearing the same words in her mind: Precious is better. Precious is loved more. Precious takes everything. She stood up and walked to the mirror. A pretty girl stared back, smooth dark skin, bright eyes, long lashes. But those eyes were hard tonight. "I am not a shadow," she whispered. "I am not second. I should be seen. I should be loved." Sarah opened her drawer and pulled out a small glass flower she had broken by mistake in the afternoon. The petals had cracked into tiny sharp pieces, clear as ice. She poured them into her palm and stared. Her fingers shook a little. Just one small thing, she told herself again. Just to make her stumble. Not to break her. Just to make them look at me. But jealousy has a way of lying. It says, just a little, and then takes more. Sarah slipped out of her room. The corridor was cool and silent. She tiptoed, her steps soundless on the soft rug. The grand staircase waited ahead, bright under the chandelier. It curved like a white river, wide and shiny, leading down to the ground floor. Sarah stood at the top and looked at it, breathing in and out. Her palm opened. The tiny glass pieces glimmered like stars. She knelt and sprinkled them carefully on 3 steps in the middle, 1, 2, 3, hiding them where the chandelier light would make them look like part of the marble. She pressed her lips together. Her heartbeat thumped in her ears. Then she heard a small sound behind her, a floorboard creaked. Sarah spun around, fear jumping in her throat. But no one was there. Only the slow wind and the ticking clock. She stood up quickly and brushed her hands together. It was done. A part of her felt sick. A part of her felt strong. She swallowed hard and walked back to her room. But she did not go inside. She turned and walked to Precious's door. She lifted her hand and knocked lightly. "Who is it?" Precious's voice was soft, sleepy. "It's me," Sarah said, making her voice sweet like honey. "Sister, come. I want to show you something downstairs." There was a pause. Then the door opened. Precious stood there in a soft nightgown like melted cream. Her hair fell over her shoulder. Her eyes looked worried. "Sarah, it's late." "It won't take long," Sarah said gently. "Please." Precious looked into her sister's face, searching for meaning. She saw the small smile. She heard the gentle tone. She wanted to believe the sweetness was real. She nodded. "Okay," she whispered. They walked out together. The house seemed to hold its breath even tighter. The chandelier above the staircase shone like 1,000 tiny suns, but the light felt cold. Sarah walked 1 step ahead, her back straight, her hands clenched where Precious could not see. At the top of the staircase, Sarah stepped aside and made a little gesture. "After you," she said. Precious smiled and began to walk down. 1 step. 2 steps. The marble was smooth under her feet. Her hand lightly touched the rail. Her heart felt calm. She was happy that Sarah wanted to show her something, happy that maybe, just maybe, they would talk and be close again. Then came the 3rd step. Precious's foot landed on the hidden glass. It slid. Her heel twisted. A sharp pain shot up her leg. Her hand reached for the rail, but her finger slipped. Her eyes widened. Her mouth opened. The word tilted. And then, a scream. It cut through the quiet like a knife. Precious's body tumbled down the white steps, thump, 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 her nightgown fluttering, her hair flying. The chandelier light flashed on her face, then on the marble, then on her face again as she rolled. She hit the lower landing and lay still, the world spinning into a blur. Sarah did not move. She stared, frozen, her breath trapped in her chest. She had wanted a stumble. She had dreamed of a small cry, a small lesson, a small fire to make them look at her. Not this. Not blood. Not this silence. Precious. Sarah's voice finally returned, thin and shaky. She ran down 2 steps, then 3, then stopped, afraid to touch her. Doors flew open down the hall. Servants rushed out. The head maid, Mama Esther, cried, "What happened?" Footsteps thundered. Lights came on. The house filled with noise. Chief James appeared at the top of the stairs in his white nightrobe. His face looked as if it had been carved from stone. "Precious," he roared, his voice breaking. He ran past Sarah, almost knocking her aside in his rush. He dropped to his knees by his older daughter. "My child, can you hear me?" Precious blinked slowly. "Father," she whispered. Her voice was thin as paper. "Call the driver." Mama Esther shouted. "Bring the car to the front. Hurry." Two maids ran. A guard picked up the house phone and called the driver, his fingers shaking. Sarah stood there, cold as ice, watching. Her hands felt sticky. Her mouth tasted like metal. She wanted to speak. She wanted to say, it was an accident. But the words stuck like stones in her throat. Chief lifted Precious carefully with the guard's help. As he shifted her, a small red line appeared on the white marble, a thin streak of blood. Everyone gasped. The sight was like a bell ringing in the air, loud and terrible. "Watch your step," Mama Esther warned. "There might be broken." She stopped mid-sentence. Her eyes dropped to the steps above. The chandelier caught something there, tiny glints like cruel stars. "Sir," she said quietly, pointing, "look." Chief James turned. He squinted. Then he climbed 2 steps and bent down. Between his fingers, the tiny glass pieces sparkled. He lifted them into the light. His face changed, shock first, then disbelief, then something heavy and sad. "Who did this?" His voice was not a shout. It was soft, tired, and hurting. That made it worse. No one answered. The servants looked at each other with wide eyes. The guard looked at the floor. Mama Esther's mouth trembled. Chief turned slowly to the top of the staircase where Sarah stood like a statue. The eyes met, and the words seemed to stop. Sarah felt as if her heart fell right through her body and hit the floor. "Sarah," Chief said, and her name came out like a broken prayer. "What have you done?" Tears rushed to Sarah's eyes. She shook her head fast, too fast. I didn't mean. I wanted." The words melted. Guilt burst like a storm inside her. She sank to her knees on the step, covering her face with her hands. "Bring the car now," Chief cried suddenly, lifting Precious again. "We'll talk later. My daughter is bleeding." They hurried down with Precious, careful to avoid the glittering trap. Sarah remained on the steps, shaking. She heard the front door open. She heard the driver's scared voice. She heard the car engine roar to life. She heard the rush of feet, the soft, urgent cries, "Careful, careful, hold her, open the door, make space," and then the slam of the car door shutting like a final word. Silence crawled back into the mansion, slow and cold. The servants moved quietly to clean the blood and sweep the glass. Mama Esther paused by Sarah. She did not touch her. She only said, with a voice as soft as a sigh, "Jealousy is a knife that points back." Then she walked away. Sarah stayed there for a long time. The chandelier lights were too bright. Her eyes burned. She heard the clock in the hall again, tick-tock, tick-tock, counting the seconds that could not be taken back. At last, she stood. Her legs felt weak. She walked down and stood where Precious had fallen. She looked at the faint red mark on the marble, already fading as the maids wiped it clean. Her chest hurt. It felt hard to breathe. She went to the front door and stepped outside. The night air touched her face. The garden smelled of wet leaves. Somewhere far away, a dog barked once and stopped. Sarah wrapped her arms around herself. She remembered Precious's kindness, the pancakes, the piano songs, the soft smiles. She remembered her father's warm voice saying, "My daughters, I am proud of both of you." "Both," she whispered, a sob catching in her throat. He said both. But the night gave no answers. The car returned near dawn. The driver parked and came in with quiet feet. Chief James followed, his shoulders heavy, his eyes red from crying and no sleep. Sarah stood in the hall, small and scared. She wanted to run to him. She wanted to hide. She wanted to wake up and discover this was only a bad dream. "Father," she whispered. He stopped and looked at her. There was no anger in his eyes. There was pain, and a deep, deep sadness. "Your sister is alive," he said slowly. "The doctor has treated her. She will need time to heal." Sarah's knees went weak with relief and shame. A small sob escaped her lips. "I'm sorry," she said, the words stumbling out. "I didn't want to hurt her. I wanted to be seen," he finished, his voice low. He closed his eyes for a moment, as if the words themselves were heavy. "We will speak when the sun is up." He walked past her to his room. He did not touch her shoulder. He did not call her "my child." He left a space between them as wide as the world. Sarah stood in that space and cried. Morning light crept over the garden and slid through the windows. It painted the staircase with gold, the same steps that had held blood in the dark. In that soft daylight, the house looked beautiful again, but something inside it had changed. The air felt fragile, like glass that could crack with one wrong breath. Sarah walked back to her room and closed the door. She sat on the floor and hugged her knees. For the first time, she saw her jealousy as it truly was, not power, not courage, not a way to be loved, but a shadow that had climbed into her heart and pushed her hands to do harm. She pressed her face to her knees and whispered to the empty room, "I am sorry." The words were small. They could not travel back in time. But they were the first true words she had said in a long, long while. And somewhere, in another room of the mansion, Precious slept with bandaged skin and a tired heart. The house waited. The day waited. The truth waited for what would happen next. The night of the trap had ended. But the price of jealousy had only begun. The morning sun poured through the curtains, filling the mansion with a golden light that should have brought warmth, but it didn't. The air was heavy, filled with silence. The laughter that once floated through the halls had vanished. Even the birds in the garden seemed to sing more softly that day. Sarah sat on her bed, staring at the floor. Her eyes were swollen from crying, her hair messy from tossing through the night. She could still hear the sound of Precious's scream echoing in her head. Every time she closed her eyes, she saw her sister falling, again and again. When the door creaked open, she jumped. It was Mama Esther, the head maid, holding a tray of food. "Good morning, my dear," she said gently. "You need to eat something." Sarah shook her head. "I can't." Mama Esther placed the tray on the table and sighed. "You must face what you have done, Sarah. The world may forgive, but first you must forgive yourself." Tears rolled down Sarah's cheeks. "Do you think she'll ever forgive me?" Mama Esther looked at her kindly. "I don't know. But forgiveness begins with truth. You must tell her you're sorry, not because you want peace, but because she deserves it." Sarah nodded weakly. She knew Mama Esther was right. Later that day, the doctor came again to check on Precious. Her room smelled of fresh flowers and medicine. She lay on the bed, pale but beautiful, her right leg wrapped in bandages. Her eyes were half open, staring at the ceiling. She looked calm, but her heart was broken. When Sarah walked in, her hands trembling, Precious slowly turned her head. Their eyes met. For the first time in weeks, no words came. Only silence, thick and painful. Sarah's throat burned as she tried to speak. "Precious," she whispered, "I'm sorry." Precious didn't reply. She looked away, blinking back tears. "Why, Sarah?" she finally asked, her voice weak. "What did I ever do to you?" Sarah fell to her knees beside the bed. "You did nothing. I was jealous. Everyone loved you. I felt invisible." Precious looked at her sister, her eyes full of sadness. "And now do you feel seen?" Those words hit Sarah like thunder. She began to cry loudly, clutching Precious's hand. No. I feel empty. Precious closed her eyes. For a long moment, neither of them spoke. Then Precious slowly squeezed her hand. Sarah, I can't hate you. You are my sister. But I can't forget either. It will take time. Sarah nodded, tears still falling. I'll wait, she whispered. Their father stood quietly by the door, watching them. Chief James's strong shoulders were now bent with sorrow. He loved both his daughters, but the wound jealousy left could not be fixed with money or gift. It had cut through trust, and trust takes time to heal. That night, the mansion was still again, but not in the same way. The silence was no longer empty, it was heavy with reflection. Sarah could not sleep. She walked outside into the garden. The air was cool. The moon shone on the fountain, where water sparkled like silver. She remembered the nights when she and Precious used to play there, chasing each other around the flowers, laughing until their father told them to come inside. Her heart ached. Why did I let darkness win? She whispered. She sat by the fountain, staring at the ripples. Jealousy, she said softly, you took everything from me. But a voice inside her heart replied, no, Sarah, you gave it away. The next morning, Chief James called both girls into his study. The room was quiet, filled with the smell of wood polish and old books. Precious sat in a wheelchair, her face calm but distant. Sarah sat across from her, her hands shaking. Their father spoke slowly. My daughters, I have built this house with love and hard work. I have given you everything, but last night I realized something: money cannot buy peace. It cannot buy love. Sarah, your actions hurt your sister deeply. You broke the bond between you. Sarah bowed her head. I know, Father. But, Chief James continued, a mistake can teach wisdom if you are ready to learn. He looked at both of them. I want you to promise me something, from today: no more jealousy, no more pride. Promise to protect each other, not destroy each other. Sarah's voice trembled. I promise, Father. Precious looked at Sarah quietly, then nodded. I promise too. Their father smiled weakly, though his eyes were moist. Good. Because family is a treasure you can lose in a heartbeat. Days turned into weeks, and weeks into months. Precious slowly healed. Her leg grew stronger, and soon she could walk again with a soft limp. Sarah changed too. She became quieter, humbler, always helping her sister, reading to her, cooking her favorite meals, and never asking for praise. One evening, while Precious sat in the garden reading, Sarah brought her a cup of tea. The sunset painted the sky orange and gold. I made your favorite ginger tea, Sarah said with a shy smile. Precious took the cup, smiling softly. Thank you. They sat in silence for a while, watching the sky. Then Precious said quietly, Sarah, I forgave you a long time ago. I just needed to see that you forgave yourself. Sarah blinked fast, her eyes wet. I'm trying, she whispered. Good, Precious said, touching her hand gently. Because guilt is another kind of prison. The two sisters sat together until the stars came out. For the first time in months, their laughter returned, soft, genuine, and healing. From that day, Sarah was different. She worked hard, studied more, and began helping the less privileged children in their town. She would gather books, pencils, and food, saying, if love had been shared with me earlier, maybe I would not have hurt my sister. Now I must share it with others. Her kindness began to shine, and people started to see not just her beauty, but her heart. Precious, too, became stronger and wiser. She learned that sometimes, forgiveness is not just for others, it is for yourself too. Years passed, and the mansion that once echoed with pain became a home of laughter again. The two sisters grew close, bound by lessons learned through tears. Their father, now older, often sat in the garden watching them with a peaceful smile. One day, as they walked together under the bright sun, Precious said softly, "Sarah, do you know what I learned from everything?" Sarah looked at her curiously. "What?" Precious smiled. "Love doesn't make us blind, it makes us see clearly. Jealousy makes us blind." Sarah nodded slowly. "And I learned that being loved doesn't mean taking what someone else has, it means being happy for them." They both laughed quietly, their voices blending with the birds singing in the trees. The mansion shone again, not because of gold or luxury, but because of peace. Moral lesson. Jealousy is like a fire, it burns without mercy until nothing good is left. True beauty lives in a kind heart, not a jealous one. Forgiveness heals the wounds that anger and envy create. Love others, and your heart will always shine brighter than gold. Before you go, remember, more timeless tales await. Subscribe, like, and share AB Folktale Stories, where wisdom lives forever.